I was standing in the kitchen at my own birthday party, washing dishes, while my family laughed in the living room. 43 years old, and I was still the invisible helper, and why Sister Sarah was telling everyone how she had finally found her calling in art therapy, the career I had wanted to pursue 15 years ago. Before Mom got sick and I had to quit school to take care of everyone, the same sister who had borrowed $3,000 from me last month for her emergency root canal, money I had saved for months by skipping meals, could hear them through the thin walls. At least someone in this family has ambition, Dad said, his voice carrying that familiar tone of disappointment he reserved for me. Not everyone can be the practical one, I guess. They were toasting her success with the wine I had bought, eating the cake I had baked, in the house I had been paying half the mortgage on since Mom passed. My name is Claire. I'm 33 years old. And I have stayed quiet for long enough. The family meeting happened on a Tuesday. I should have known something was different when Sarah actually showed up on time. Her new boyfriend David trailing behind her with that smug smile people wear when they think they are about to win something. Dad cleared his throat the way he always did before delivering news that would change everything. We have been talking. And we think it is time to sell the house, just like that. No preamble, no asking how I felt about losing the only home I had ever known, the house where I had nursed Mom through her final months. Where I had painted every room, fixed every broken thing, where I had lived my entire adult life. The market is hot right now, Sarah added, not meeting my eyes. David knows a great realtor. Of course he did. I noticed how she said we like. She had been paying the bills all along, like she had not disappeared for 2 years when Mom was dying, only to return when the funeral was over and the will was read. Watched them discuss my future like I was not sitting right there. The same way they had always done. Mom's jewelry would go to Sarah, naturally. She was the one who would appreciate beautiful things. The furniture would be donated. The photos would be divided, and me? I would find somewhere else to live. After all, I was good at adapting that night. I made a choice. I called the bank and asked about my options. Turns out, when you have been making mortgage payments for 3 years, your name carries some weight. The loan officer was very helpful when I explained my situation. Very helpful indeed. I stayed quiet about that conversation. Some silences are worth more than words. Sarah started bringing David around more often, always when I was not expecting them. They would sit in Mom's chair, use her good china, talk about their plans for after the sale like they were already spending money that had not been made yet. Was folding laundry in the basement when I heard them talking above me. The old heating vents carried sound perfectly, something I had learned as a child, hiding from Dad's drinking years. She is not going to like this, David said, his voice echoing through the pipes. Claire never likes anything that involves change, Sarah replied. But she will adjust. She always does. That is what she is good at, being practical, taking care of things. She does not have the vision for something like this. They were talking about converting the house into a rental property. Multiple units. Sarah would manage it. David would handle the renovations. I would be bought out of my share, at a fair price, of course. They had already run the numbers. I climbed the stairs slowly, my arms full of clean clothes. They did not notice me enter the room, too absorbed in their blueprints spread across Mom's dining table, the same table where I had helped her with her medications, where we had played cards during her bad days, where she had made me promise to take care of everyone with her dying breath. The basement would make a perfect studio apartment, Sarah was saying. Small, but functional. Perfect for someone who does not need much space. I set the laundry basket down. Finally, they looked up. Oh, Claire. We were just discussing possibilities. Sarah's voice had that bright, false note it got when she was caught doing something she knew was wrong. I nodded. I can see that. I picked up one of their sketches. My bedroom was labeled storage. The living room where I had spent countless nights with Mom was divided into 2 efficiency units. Even in their plans? I was invisible that evening. I called my high school friend Janet, who had become a real estate attorney. We had a long conversation about property rights, inheritance law, and the interesting things that happen when someone has been paying into a mortgage without being on the deed. Janet laughed when I told her about Sarah's plans. Oh, honey, she said. They have no idea what they are walking into, do they? I decided to let them keep planning. Sometimes the best revenge is just watching. The eviction notice was David's idea. I found it slipped under my bedroom door on a Thursday morning, official-looking letterhead and everything. 30 days to vacate the premises. The signature at the bottom was Sarah's, shaky but determined. Almost laughed. Almost instead. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, reading it over slowly. The legal language was impressive for something that meant absolutely nothing. You cannot evict someone from a house they own, but I supposed they were counting on me not knowing that. Sarah came down an hour later, already dressed for her morning yoga class. She saw the paper in my hands and her face went carefully blank. I hope you understand, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. It is not personal. It is just time. Time for what? For you to build your own life. You have been taking care of everyone else for so long. Maybe it is time to take care of yourself. She poured herself juice, her movements precise and rehearsed. David thinks a fresh start would be good for you. Somewhere smaller, more manageable. You could finally pursue that degree you always talked about, the degree I had given up to take care of Mom. The degree I had mentioned once, in passing, 10 years ago. She had remembered it just long enough to use it against me. I folded the fake eviction notice in half, then in half again. When did you write this? What do you mean, the date? You dated it last Tuesday. Before the family meeting, I watched her face change as she realized her mistake. You had already decided to force me out before you even pretended to discuss selling the house. Sarah's yoga mat slipped from her shoulder. Claire, it is okay. I said, and meant it. I understand now. I stood up, leaving the paper on the table. I will be out of your way soon enough. She looked relieved, probably thinking I was going to make this easy for everyone. Just like always, I went upstairs and called Janet again. This time, our conversation was much more detailed. We talked about fraud, about harassment, about the interesting legal protections available to people who have been contributing to mortgage payments for years without being properly credited. The paperwork Janet prepared was very real. Very official. And Sarah would be receiving it soon. Enough, I remembered Mom's favorite saying, still waters run deep. I was about to show them just how deep. I got home early that Thursday. A cancelled client meeting. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw a white SUV I did not recognize. Through the window, a woman in heels and a blazer was gesturing toward the kitchen. Another showing. Another stranger walking through my house like it was already hers, inside. Sarah's voice echoed, we will replace this flooring, of course. And knock out this wall here. It is very dated. She did not hear the door open. I stepped quietly into the hallway, just far enough to see her smile. Professional. Polished. She wore one of Mom's necklaces, the pearl one, the one she said she did not even like. I stood there while she described the fantastic income potential of the home. She even joked, the current occupant is very tidy, almost like she is not even here, when the potential buyer left. Sarah turned and finally saw me. Oh. I did not expect you home this early. She blinked, then smiled, a tight, artificial thing that did not reach her eyes. Just showing someone around. Nothing is finalized, of course, you did not even tell me. I said, still calm. Again, she held up a hand like I was overreacting. Claire, it is not like that. You have been so tense lately. I did not want to upset me. I did not answer. I just walked past her into the den. She had left the computer on. Open email tabs, contracts, and the worst. A draft she must have written and saved as a template. Claire is no longer emotionally stable to remain in the home. She has had difficulty adjusting since our mother's passing. The sale is in her best interest. It was not just a listing. She was laying the groundwork to frame me as unfit. Erasing me not just from the house, but from the story. I turned slowly. Is this how you justify it to yourself? Her face froze. That is not what I meant to. I read the draft, Sarah. She crossed her arms. I did not send it, but you wrote it. Silence. Then she said something I did not expect. Claire, this house makes you small. You do not even realize it. There was no malice in her voice. Just pity. Manufactured or not. I could not tell. I should have yelled. Instead, I nodded. I am making it smaller for you, too. That night, I called Janet again. I gave her every document I had. The mortgage payments. The shared bills. The emails. The listing. The draft. Everything. She paused for a moment on the phone, then said, she does not know who she is playing with, and for the first time in a long while. I did not feel like the helper anymore. Sarah called me 17 times that first day. I answered on the 18th call, mainly because I was curious what she would say. What the hell is this? Her voice was shaking. Adverse possession? Constructive trust? Claire, this is insane. Which part? I was at work, sitting in my car during lunch break. Around me, normal people were living normal lives, eating sandwiches and checking their phones. The part where I legally own half the house, or the part where you tried to steal it from me. We are family. Family does not forge eviction notices. There was a long silence. Then, David says you cannot do this. He says it will not hold up in court. David is wrong. I unwrapped my sandwich slowly, the phone pressed between my shoulder and ear. But he is welcome to find out. Your realtor has already pulled the listing, by the way. Legal complications. Claire, please. We can work this out. We can what? Split the house down the middle? Put up a wall through the living room? I took a bite of my sandwich. Or maybe I could rent the basement from you. Was not that the plan? That was never. I heard you, Sarah. Both of you. Planning my life like I was not even there. I crumpled up the sandwich wrapper. But I was there. I am always there. That is the problem. She started crying then, the kind of dramatic sobs she had used to get out of trouble when we were kids. I do not understand why you are being so cruel. I almost laughed. I am not being cruel. I am being practical. That is what I am good at. Remember, I hung up and blocked her number. Then I blocked David's. Then Dad's. When he started calling to talk sense into me, the silence that followed was the most peaceful thing I had felt in years. The legal proceedings took 3 months. 3 months of lawyers and mediators and family members choosing sides. Dad tried to play peacemaker, suggesting we work it out like adults. Sarah's friends posted cryptic social media updates about family betrayal and money changing people. I stopped reading them after the first week. I stopped reading a lot of things instead. I started remembering. I remembered being 12 and taking care of Sarah when she had mono, bringing her soup and helping with her homework while Mom worked double shifts. Remembered being 16 and giving her my prom money so she could go on a school trip to Europe. Remembered being 25 and co-signing her student loans, then making the payments when she decided college was not for her. Remembered 30 years of being the practical one, the reliable one, the one who always found a way to make things work. 30 years of being invisible until someone needed something. The mediation session was held in a sterile conference room downtown. Sarah wore a black dress like she was attending a funeral. Maybe she was. I just want to understand, she said. Across the polished table, her voice small and defeated. Why are you destroying our family over a house I looked at her for a long moment. Really looked at her. When had she gotten so thin? When had those lines appeared around her eyes? When had she become someone I did not recognize? I am not destroying anything. I said finally. I am just choosing myself for once. The settlement was fair. More than fair. Sarah got her half of the house value, minus her debts to me. Minus the years of mortgage payments I had made alone, I got the house, clear title, and enough left over to finally finish that degree she had mentioned. She signed the papers with shaking hands. David was not there, he had disappeared sometime. During the second month of legal proceedings, once he realized there was no easy money to be made, after the lawyers left. Sarah and I sat alone in that conference room. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. I never meant for it to go this far. She said, I know. And I did know. She had never meant for any of it. She had just expected me to absorb it, like always. To make it work somehow. To find a way to give her what she wanted while pretending it was my idea. Are we going? To be okay, I gathered my papers, slipped them into my bag. I do not know. I said. I honestly do not know. It was the first completely honest thing I had said to her in years. That was 8 months ago. I am sitting in my kitchen now, my kitchen, in my house, drinking coffee and watching the sunrise through windows I no longer have to share. The rooms are exactly as I want them. The silence is exactly as deep as I need it to be. Sarah sends cards sometimes. Birthday cards. Christmas cards. Thinking of you cards with messages about healing and forgiveness and family. I do not throw them away, but I do not respond either. They sit in a drawer in the kitchen, accumulating like snow. Dad calls once a month, brief conversations about weather and work and nothing important. He does not ask about Sarah, and I do not ask about him. We have found a rhythm in our distance, a way to be family without the weight of expectations. People ask me sometimes if I miss them. If I regret what happened. If I think we will ever reconcile. The truth is, I do not miss the chaos. I do not miss being the one who fixed everything. Who absorbed everyone's problems, who made the hard choices so they did not have to. I do not miss being invisible in my own life. What I have now is something I had never had before. Choice, the choice to be alone without being lonely. The choice to help people because I want to, not because I am expected to. The choice to say no. To say maybe, to say nothing at all. I enrolled in that art therapy program last spring. Turns out, at 44, I am exactly the right age to know what I want to learn. Why professors do not see me as the practical one or the helper or the disappointment. They see me as Claire, the woman who brings interesting perspectives to class discussions, who asks thoughtful questions, who is finally learning to create instead of just maintain. The house feels different now. Lighter. Like it is finally mine to inhabit instead of just clean and maintain. I have started painting again, watercolors, mostly. Soft landscapes that capture quiet moments. I am not particularly good at it yet. But I am getting better. And more importantly, I am doing it for me. Sometimes I think about forgiveness. About reaching out, making amends, rebuilding bridges. But then I remember that forgiveness does not require reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still choose not to let them hurt you again. You can love people and still protect yourself from them. Stayed quiet for so long. I forgot what my own voice sounded like. Now I remember. It is softer than I expected, but stronger too. It does not need to be loud to be heard. The family that used to define me has learned to exist without me. And I have learned to exist without them. It has been peaceful. It has been enough. If this reminded you of someone, maybe yourself. Remember, you do not have to scream to be heard. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stop making noise for everyone else and start listening to yourself.